there and welcome back. Thank you for dropping in and watching and learning, hopefully. My name is Loni, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist. This is my husband, Jack.
Hi.
And we have been thinking about for a bit of time the benefits of sharing, oftentimes the challenges that happen in relationships and pitfalls. I think I've mentioned before I was married 25 years and Jack was married 30. So we've learned some things along the way. Plus, I've been a clinician, marriage, family, and child therapist for 30 years. So also have learned some things along the way, things to do, things that, oops, maybe not so much. And as I've continued on in my career, I've really been able to tease out the important pieces of what is important to know in a relationship and why people get stuck in certain areas. And what I've come to understand is that our early experiences in life lay down a relationship template to no fault of our own. And there's a wide variety of templates that do get laid down, but I'm going to kind of give you a basic attachment theory 101. And it's sort of like in a quadrant. And we have over here an avoidant attachment. And these are the kiddos that grow up very independent, often very self-confident. Our military is filled with folks that are more of on the avoidance side because we're self-starters, we're independent, don't really need anybody, but it really makes it tough in relationships because of the independence. So then that's avoidant. Over here we have anxious. This is sort of the attachment style where maybe the early parenting was a little inconsistent. Maybe there were dynamics going on in the home. Maybe there was job problems, relationship problems, maybe a death in the family. Something caused a disruption in the family where one or both parents were struggling themselves. So the needs of the kiddos were met intermittently. So maybe it was good on Tuesday, but not on Friday. So you kind of have a push-pull there. Then over here, what we have is what we call a disorganized attachment. That is more of an extreme. These are folks that grew up where no one was really minding the store as they were growing up. Maybe there was a lot of chaos, maybe substance abuse, maybe violence, maybe foster systems that were not, the best. But these are the folks that really struggle in relationships. They don't have an internal locus of control. So there's a lot of drama around them in the relationships, and they sort of continue on with that in their adult life. Over here, this last quadrant is what we call the secure attachment. And interesting enough, in our population, secure attachments are more common. However, it is a challenge, and having any one of these other attachment systems, the good news is we can develop what we call an earned attachment. So that's the good news. And how do we develop an earned attachment? Lo and behold, it's in relationships. The very thing that caused the suffering in the beginning is the very thing that has the potential to heal us. So that's a mystery, and that's one of the reasons why therapy works, because the therapeutic relationship is based on being fully present. The therapeutic relationship is based on becoming what that client needs for you. So many times, in fact, today I did a session and this young woman said, she said, in many ways you feel really maternal to me, and it feels good because I didn't have a mom. And so that's one of the things that the therapists do. We become what that client needs for us and help them repair those wounded attachment systems. So moving forward to Jack and I. So I grew up in a system where there was no dad, there was no siblings, it was my mom. And, you know, she did the best she could back in the 50s. She was a single mom. She owned her own business, very independent in some respect, but she also had a substance abuse problem. So I learned very early that I was an island unto myself. And I learned very young that the home was not optimum. And so I actually left when I was 15, very independent, and I thought I was grown. By the time I was 17, I had a child, and I was an adult in my eyes. Of course, I look back now and go, you were absolutely lost. But, you know, when you're going through those stages, you feel like this is it. This is, I'm an adult. So I am an avoidant attachment. And that means that I've learned to be very independent. I avoid conflict at all cost in relationships. I will retreat rather than engage, which sounds lovely in some respects, but it can play havoc in a relationship. And Jack, you want to talk about yours for a moment?
Well, I'm avoidant too. I had a pretty chaotic childhood, and didn't have a father, had a mother and 4 sisters, and the house was pretty much upside down. Mom had to work every day, so basically it was 5 kids raising themselves. So there was a point in time where our house had every single window broken in the house, and every lamp, everything was broken. So it was a pretty chaotic childhood, and I learned to, I asked my mom if I could live in the garage, and that was where I found peace. So yes, I learned that avoidant strategy right away.
So here we are. Yeah. So Jack and I, because of a depth of friendship back in our early 20s and a real deep connectedness, as we reconnected later on in life, we both realized that, you know, we have avoidant attachments. And because I'm a therapist, I told Jack when he and I first reconnected, I said, I'll say it, but I told him, I said, I'm a pain in the ass because I'm a therapist, and I want excellence in a relationship, and I think you understood.
If you don't want to look inside, don't marry a therapist. That's all I can say.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have gone to workshops at Essalon together. We've done a lot of wonderful things to enhance our relationship, and I appreciate Jack being a wonderful participant in this. And I think maybe
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
I love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I think you trust me, and I trust you, and I think that helps, which helps us develop that earned, secure attachment. So I'm going to ask Jack to read something, and you can introduce however you want to with that. But
it was very cool. We were at a used bookstore, kind of a soulscape kind of a thing, and I just randomly saw this book on the shelf, and it was by James Hollis, PhD, and it was
Middle Passage.
What an amazing book. You know, it called to me. I read it 3-4 times. I ended up reading 12 of James Hollis's books. You can see James Hollis on YouTube. You can buy his books on Amazon. He is an amazing Jungian psychologist. See, I'm learning. So this was one of the things in the Middle Passage book that Loni and I shared when we got married with all the participants at the wedding, but also we've shared with a lot of people. And this is a concept he talked about, which is radical conversation. And radical conversation means peacefully approaching the other person because you have enough of yourself and they have enough of themselves. Not to overreact, underreact, go hide in a shell, have a tantrum, but to listen and work through the problems. So Loni and I have done this. We've been married now almost 5 years. So radical conversation, number 1. The partners must assume responsibility for their own psychological well-being. 2, they must commit to sharing the world of their own experience without reproaching the other for past wounds or future expectations. Similarly, they are to endeavor to hear, without feeling defensive, the experience of the other. Deep listening. Yeah. 3, they must commit to sustaining such a dialogue over time. It doesn't just happen one time. It's an ongoing process. These 3 steps ask a great deal, but the alternative is that marriages limp along or dissolve. Radical conversation is what a long-term commitment is about. With or without a wedding ceremony, true marriage is seldom achieved without radical conversation. Only radical conversation, the full sharing of what it is like to be me, while hearing what it is really like to be you, can fulfill the promise of an intimate relationship. One can only engage in radical conversation if one has taken responsibility for oneself, has some self-awareness, and has the tensile strength to withstand a genuine encounter with the truly other. Tensile strength. You take that shaking. Loving the otherness of the partner is a transcendent event, for one enters the true mystery of a relationship in which one is taken to the 3rd place, not you plus me, but we who are more than ourselves with each other.
So beautifully said. James Hollis is, he's an amazing writer. So really what, as a therapist, one of the things that I teach couples is, we have to have a fully individuated, self-actualized self. And there's 2. So there's Jack and there's Loni. But then there's this relationship up here that's an entity in and of itself. And so when one, we say this kind of flippantly, but you can be right or you can be happy. But in a sense that is true, because it's not a codependent way of just laying down and whatever you say, dear, but you're really investing in the relationship. You're really making that a separate entity, and you guard it, you nurture it. You don't just let people come in and just disrupt that, but you protect it, you put boundaries around it. And Jack and I have a way of interacting one with another. I will say to him, and this is how we do it, I'll say, hey, and I call him Jake because that's what his grandpa used to call him, but I'll say, hey, is it okay if we have a radical conversation? Yeah. And then what does that tell you?
Hold on. And get ready and take it like a trooper, and have enough of yourself to hear what the other person's saying, and let her speak from her heart, and of course she turns around and lets me speak from mine, and the things are resolved so quickly. I mean, it's not an ongoing, we have to, remember something that happened 3 years ago because it's over, because we resolved it because of the radical understanding that the radical conversation works.
And so because Jack and I are avoidant, it would be death for our relationship if we did not have that tool in our toolbox, because we both come from long-term relationships where one would just sweep things under the rug and just would rather not engage, because that would be my natural tendency to avoid conflict at all cost. So that's something that Jack and I wanted to share with you today, and I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to our conversation next time, and we'll have a radical one. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.